sirens blaring across the Middle East for 3 hours straight were not a drill, and they were certainly not the sound of a successful defense. While officials in Washington and Tel Aviv spent the morning of March 1st, 2026, claiming a 90% interception rate, the smoldering ruins of strategic facilities from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean tell a far more devastating story. This was not a performative strike like we saw in the past. This was a systematic penetration of the most expensive air defense network on the planet. For 180 minutes, Iran unleashed waves of ballistic missiles and suicide drones that did not just knock on the door but blew it off the hinges. The truth is being buried under a mountain of propaganda, but the satellite imagery and ground reports are finally leaking out. From the headquarters of the United States Navy 5th Fleet in Bahrain to the Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates, the silence of official denials is being deafened by the reality of direct hits. Analysts are now confirming that at least 7 United States military bases across the region suffered damage to critical communications and radar installations. These were surgical strikes designed to blind the very systems that were supposed to protect the region. The so-called Iron Dome and the Patriot batteries were not just stressed, they were saturated to the point of failure. Iran utilized what military strategists call a drizzle strategy, a relentless and staggered launch sequence that forced the coalition to burn through billion-dollar stockpiles of interceptors within hours. While the Pentagon insists only minor damage occurred, the indefinite closure of Dubai International Airport and the fires at the Aramco refineries in Saudi Arabia suggest a total breakdown of the security umbrella. We are witnessing the collapse of the myth of invulnerability. The official numbers provided to the public were not a reflection of reality, but a desperate attempt at damage control to prevent a global market panic. As oil prices surged past $90 a barrel in a single day, the world began to realize that if the defenses were truly 90% effective, the global energy supply would not be in a state of cardiac arrest. The war of attrition has begun, and the first casualty was the truth told by the authorities. The official narrative of a 90% interception rate collapses when you analyze the sheer physics of the engagement. Military experts confirm that Iran has deployed a deadly evolution in its ballistic program, decoy swarms. These advanced re-entry vehicles scatter multiple replicas in the final stage of flight, creating dozens of radar signatures for a single warhead. Systems like the Patriot, THAAD, and Arrow 3 were forced to engage every ghost target, burning through 3, 4, or even 6 interceptors to stop one real threat. This created a critical bottleneck. You cannot claim 90% effectiveness when your defense batteries are firing at empty space while the real payloads are striking the ground. This was not just a technological failure, it was a logistical trap. Iran's Shahed 136 drones cost a mere $20,000 each. In contrast, the United States and its allies are launching interceptors that cost millions of dollars per shot. We are witnessing a fiscal war of attrition, where the defenders are running out of missiles faster than the attackers are running out of drones. Reports indicate that interceptor stockpiles in the United Arab Emirates and Qatar were nearing total depletion within just 4 days of the opening salvos. To hide this vulnerability, officials maintain the fiction of high interception rates, but the evidence of penetration is undeniable. The precision of these strikes suggests Iran had significant outside help. American intelligence has confirmed that Russia has been providing space-based surveillance to help Iran target United States forces with extreme accuracy. By feeding real-time satellite data to Iranian command units, Moscow helped ensure that even a small percentage of missiles that bypassed the shield would hit the most sensitive areas. This is why we saw direct hits on a freshwater desalination plant on Keshem Island and refined energy hubs in the heart of Tehran. The shield did not hold. It was bypassed by decoys and guided by foreign satellites, leaving the most important assets in the region completely exposed for 3 hours straight. The claim of 90% interception is not just an exaggeration. It is a calculated deception designed to mask a massive strategic failure. When the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, their primary objective was a decapitation strike to paralyze Iran's ability to respond. Officials initially reported that the elimination of Ayatollah Khamenei and 40 top commanders had severed the head of the Iranian war machine. They expected a quick surrender, similar to the operations in Venezuela. Instead, the world watched in shock as the Iranian military initiated a massive 3-hour retaliatory barrage known as Operation True Promise 4. The reality is that the assassination of the supreme leader did not stop the missiles because Iran had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario by implementing a mosaic defense system. This decentralized doctrine divided the country into 31 autonomous units, allowing local commanders to fire ballistic missiles and launch drone swarms without waiting for orders from a central headquarters that no longer existed. While the Pentagon and Israeli officials boasted about their defense shields, the damage on the ground told a different story. In Dubai, the iconic Burj Al Arab Hotel and the Fairmont Palm were struck by falling debris and direct impacts, causing visible fires. The Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest international hub, was forced to halt all flights as drones crashed near terminal buildings. Officials claim 93% of these threats were intercepted, but a 3% failure rate does not result in the evacuation of the Burj Khalifa and the total closure of regional airspace for days. The fraud of the 90% claim is most evident in the targeting of United States military assets. Despite the presence of advanced Patriot and THAAD batteries, Iranian missiles successfully hit the headquarters of the United States Navy 5th Fleet in Bahrain and the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. In Kuwait, 6 American service members were killed when a drone struck a tactical operations center, and 3 F-15 fighter jets were reportedly lost in a single incident. These were not lucky shots that slipped through a nearly perfect shield. They were the result of a saturation strategy that proved the current defense architecture is incapable of sustaining a high-intensity conflict for 3 hours, let alone 3 weeks. The economic reality of this war has completely dismantled the narrative of a successful defense. While officials touted high interception percentages, the global markets were screaming a different truth. Oil prices didn't just spike, they exploded, with Brent crude reaching $91 a barrel for the first time since October 2023. The Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which 20% of the world's oil flows, is now a graveyard for maritime trade. Data shows that, since the conflict began, only 3 oil and gas tankers have dared to cross the strait, representing a 90% drop in traffic. This is a de facto closure that insurers have reacted to by canceling policies or raising prices by 50%. If 90% of missiles were actually intercepted, the heartbeat of global energy would not be flatlining. The cost of this victory is equally staggering. The United States military campaign burned through $3.7 billion in just the first 100 hours. By the 4th day, that figure soared to $11 billion, with $5.7 billion spent solely on missile interceptors to defend against a supposedly degraded enemy. The reality is that the Pentagon is running low on munitions. President Trump held emergency meetings at the White House with executives from Lockheed Martin and Raytheon to quadruple production of the exquisite class of weaponry. You do not call for a wartime industrial mobilization if your defense systems are working as perfectly as the press releases claim. Beyond the balance sheets, the human cost reveals the darker side of this operation. While officials speak of surgical precision, a bomb dropped on a girls' school in Minab claimed the lives of over 150 people. Iranian media and independent reports put the toll even higher, at 175, mostly young children. These are not surgical outcomes. Furthermore, the first 6 American casualties, National Guard soldiers from Iowa, died in a drone strike that proved United States facilities in Kuwait were unprotected. The administration's attempts to frame this as a clean, low-risk victory are being crushed under the weight of these mounting losses. The public is catching on, with disapproval ratings reaching 51% as Americans realize they have been dragged into a forever war without a coherent exit strategy. The 90% interception rate touted by the Pentagon is not just a statistical error. It is a calculated political fiction designed to maintain a veneer of control. In reality, during the 3-hour retaliatory window of Operation True Promise 4, Iranian missiles and drones systematically dismantled the perceived invincibility of Western defense systems. While official briefings focused on spectacular mid-air explosions, they failed to account for the impact craters forming at the United States Navy 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain and the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. The truth is that Iran utilized a drizzle strategy, a persistent, slow-burn barrage that allowed them to study the coalition's response patterns in real time before releasing their most advanced assets. This saturation of the radar landscape forced systems like the THAAD and Patriot batteries to exhaust their limited magazines on cheap decoy swarms, while the real warheads reached their targets with terrifying precision. This precision was further enhanced by a new superpower dynamic that Washington is desperate to downplay. Reports confirm that Russian space-based surveillance and satellite imagery have been fed directly to Iranian command units, allowing them to pinpoint American logistical vulnerabilities. This intelligence helped Iranian drones find the Tactical Operations Center in Kuwait, leading to the confirmed deaths of 6 American service members from Iowa. The Mosaic defense strategy, implemented by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, meant that even without the late Supreme Leader Khamenei, 31 autonomous provinces operated independently, turning the entire country into a decentralized launch platform. The economic fallout of this defense failure is already paralyzing global commerce. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively shut down and tankers facing a 90% drop in traffic, the heartbeat of the world's energy supply is failing. Oil prices have surged to $91 a barrel, and gas prices at American pumps have seen their largest weekly increase since March 2022. Domestic disapproval in the United States has crossed 50% as the public realizes that the billion-dollar defense shield was bypassed by $20,000 drones. The administration is no longer just fighting a war in the Middle East. It is fighting a desperate information war at home to explain how an obliterated enemy hit targets for 3 hours straight without being stopped. The smoke currently drifting over the Middle East is not just from burning oil refineries, but from the charred remains of a failed global strategy. While the Pentagon continues to broadcast its 90% interception narrative, the physical reality of 7 damaged United States bases and the confirmed deaths of service members proves that the shield was an illusion. The entry of Russian satellite intelligence and potential Chinese economic backing has stripped away the technological advantage the West once relied upon. Iran did not collapse as predicted. Instead, it has hardened under the leadership of the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is proving to be even more confrontational than his father. The assassination of 40 top commanders has not ended the war, but has instead activated a decentralized mosaic of fighters who have no central authority left to negotiate a ceasefire. The global economic hit is now a permanent scar on the international order. With the Strait of Hormuz effectively 90% closed, the short 4-week campaign promised by officials has transformed into a global economic cardiac arrest. Brent crude has surged past $91 a barrel, and gas prices are punishing ordinary citizens far removed from the battlefield. Domestic disapproval in the United States has crossed 51% as the public realizes that the victory described in briefings was a fabrication designed to hide the depletion of missile stockpiles and the loss of regional stability. History will record this 3-hour barrage as the moment the myth of total air superiority was shattered by $20,000 drones and foreign satellite feeds. The authorities may continue to repeat their 90% interception claim, but for the millions of people living under the black rain of burning oil depots and for the families of the fallen, the truth is already written in the ruins. The Middle East is being redrawn by force, and the old world order has been buried alongside the leaders in Tehran. The war of the future has arrived, and it is independent, decentralized, and immune to official press releases.